Ladies and gentlemen, it is the Last Fan Standing podcast, episode number 3, with Justin and Nick, and we are talking wrestling. Wrestling like always. So on this episode, what we're going to be talking about is we're just going to talk about a couple of our impressions from last night's episode of Monday Night Raw. Last night was the February 11th episode of Raw, which is the last Raw before the pay-per-view of Elimination Chamber, which is likely going to comprise the second half of the podcast here. We're going to be giving you a preview show for the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view.
Yep.
It's not going to be quite as long as the one that we did for the Royal Rumble, which encapsulated like pretty well a whole hour, because quite frankly, it's not a major pay-per-view. So,
absolutely not.
So we're just going to, it is the last pay-per-view before WrestleMania, but at the same time, it's still a minor pay-per-view. Now, starting off, we got a couple of things in the world of professional wrestling. Well, really just one thing to start that we really kind of wanted to gripe about, because it just seems, maybe it's an indication that we're old men, which we are.
Well, maybe you are.
Well, yeah, you're older than me, sir.
You're only as old as you feel.
You're only as old as the women you feel?
That's right.
Right, fair enough. I'm a teacher, ladies and gentlemen. The one thing right now in the world of professional wrestling toys that I think is just goddamn stupid are these new WWE Power Slammers action figures. Nick, would you be so kind as to explain exactly what these abominations, hellspawns are?
I don't even know. They look like little toys that spin with magnets in them, and they flip and flop around the ring like I don't know, a hooker on crack.
Yeah, like
in the head with the baseball bat a couple of times. I don't know.
Put them in a car and then kill them and take the money back, just like in Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah,
right. Like basically, the gist of what these Power Slammers toys are they're action figures like we used to be able to get when we were kids, but they do have like as either a magnet or some kind of mechanism that connects them in various different ways, and then you let them go and they flop around like they're having seizures, and it's like, oh look, they're wrestling.
No, they're not.
No, they're not. They're having seizures, and we should seek medical attention for them. This to me is the stupidest toy I've ever seen. And this is coming from a company that used to have a WWF / table hockey crossover game in the 80s called Superstar Slapshot or something stupid like that. It was a floor hockey game that had WWE wrestlers.
Horrible.
So, I mean, it's even dumber than that. Like, is this like what is this garbage? Like, this is just completely taking away the whole idea of play, really. It's like you're getting a toy for a kid with the expressed intent of playing, but they do they do everything for them. You connect them and they flop around like asthmatics, and the kid's just like, wow, this is fun the first time. And
the second time it goes,
it's just like, okay,
it goes
whatevs.
in the closet and yard
it's
sale.
Exactly. And they sell it for $2 a pop at a fucking yard sale. Maybe $5 for the ring. Like, I don't know. This just seems like a stupid fucking toy to me. It's like, if kids are going to play, kids want to actually play. Not just set these toys to doing whatever and then watching. That's a movie.
I don't even think you can set them to do stuff.
No, I think it depends on the way you connect them.
Yeah.
They do different things. But
it's stupid.
It's no imagination whatsoever, and that's the whole point of play. The whole point of play is to develop an imagination. But in any case, that's one of the stupidest things I've ever seen, and we just wanted to have a quick rant about that, which turned into almost 5 minutes. So, final verdict, WWE Power Slammers, dumb as hell.
Dumb.
So let's go to Raw last night. We both had the opportunity to watch Raw last night. Overall, not a bad show.
Not a bad show. I mean,
it had some filler moments, but you also have to remember it's a 3-hour show now.
Yeah.
So I mean, as long as we can get enough sort of good points out of the show that like it becomes like, it's passable, it's good. Then mission accomplished. Really, everything else besides that sort of icing. But no, overall, I thought it was a pretty good show. A couple of things I noticed for it. Going into last night, there were 3 empty spots in the Elimination Chamber match.
Right.
which is basically a SmackDown match because it's for the World Heavyweight Championship, which was then filled, 3 of those spots were then filled on Raw. And I don't know, did it feel kind of hasty to you? Like how quickly they sort of put it together, and the fact that it wasn't even done on SmackDown?
Yeah, it kind of did feel thrown together fast at the last moment.
A little bit.
But, I mean, what can you do?
Well, I mean, yeah, you gotta have this stuff filled so you can market the pay-per-view. So, yeah. I mean, I guess it makes sense. But you would have thought they should have had it filled earlier. They had one spot filled with Rey Mysterio, and apparently he got injured again. So
they're saying he got injured.
They're saying he got injured.
I mean, I've read reports that just he got banged up a little bit, but they wanted to keep him off Raw that day, just to make the illusion that he got injured.
Okay.
But he threw out some tweets that I read.
Okay.
Said he was okay.
Oh, right on. It seemed weird to me that I thought he was in the match.
Yeah.
But then now he's not in the match. So I don't know if somebody, I don't know. It seems kind of, I read some rumors and stuff online too. There's people, of course, the conspiracy theorists popped up right away that he got nailed for wellness again.
Okay.
So somebody thought that maybe he got nailed for wellness again. Again, that's completely unsubstantiated, but it's always a possibility with Ray. He's had a bit of a weird past like that.
Well,
a little bit. So the 3 spots that were filled last night was Chris Jericho took 1 spot by defeating the only person who was in the Elimination Chamber match but hadn't had one of these beat someone that's in the chamber and you get in matches, which was Daniel Bryan. Kane,
which was a good match.
That was actually a really good match. It's always good to see 2 guys with similar styles and guys that have, like, one guy has learned heavily from the other, because Bryan Danielson has clearly learned very heavily from Chris Jericho, from guys like Chris Jericho. So when you see really similar styles like that have a match, exact same way as fights in mixed martial arts, like styles, the quote is always styles make fights, and styles in the ring make matches. So that's why Chris Jericho and CM Punk worked so well at WrestleMania last year. That was a great match because they have very similar styles.
Right.
Kane defeated Dolph Ziggler to get one of the other spots, which kind of saw coming because it's like, well, Daniel Bryan's already in the match, so it only kind of stands to reason that Kane would then get into the match as well, I guess.
Kind of. I mean, it sets up for Kane and Daniel Bryan to get a little bit more dysfunctional.
Maybe.
But in the end, I kind of really wanted to see Dolph in the Elimination Chamber. I
did too. As soon as he was put into that match, I kind of thought, okay, here's something interesting. Like, he gets the world title, he gets into the Elimination Chamber. He wins the Elimination Chamber so that he has a guaranteed title match at WrestleMania. He loses the title match at WrestleMania. After the match, beats the ever-living hell out of, I'm going to assume, probably Alberto Del Rio. But we'll talk about that later in the pay-per-view predictions. And then cashes in Money in the Bank and wins it anyway.
Justin books
it. I'm telling you, I need a fucking job. I need a job in wrestling. This is just the case. And then Jack Swagger defeats Zack Ryder, who is the only non-former world champion to be involved in any way, shape, or form in any of these matches. But I guess Swagger impressed enough, and I'm using air quotes there, to get in, because Swagger is, of course, a former world champion cashing in a Money in the Bank in his own right.
But I mean, in order to impress them, I really think he should have wrestled somebody more than...
Well, yeah, somebody, no real disrespect to Zack Ryder, because I know he's a student of the game, but he should have wrestled somebody obscure that had, like, kind of a short title run somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's plenty of guys on the roster there that have been paper champions before. So, I mean, you could make the case. Miz had a match.
Yeah.
Why wasn't Swagger fighting Miz? They're both former world champions.
There you
Not
go.
really to call Miz a paper champion either, but he was a former world champion. So I don't know. I just think logically it makes a little more sense. And then you could have had, even had Cesaro come out during that match and interfere, and that still sets up the Miz and Cesaro thing that they seem to be teasing.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think there were other ways. There were better ways to do it. But in any case, you got Jericho who's in, Kane who's in, and Swagger who's in. Speaking of Swagger, Jack Swagger's got himself a new manager.
So I've seen.
So we've seen. Yeah,
that's interesting.
It was because he just came out with this random hairy faced dude, and I was like, who the hell is that? And eventually I recognized who it was. It's Dutch Mantell. And Dutch Mantell is just kind of an old school guy. He's worked with WWF and E. He's worked with WCW. He has a good, I believe, reputation down in like Southern wrestling promotions.
Yeah.
He was wrestling in like the 70s and the 80s and stuff. Anyways, he debuted as Zeb Coulter. He was, of course, in WWE previously as like Uncle Zebekiah and stuff like that. So he debuted this gimmick of his, and he cut a really interesting promo at the end of Swagger's match. Like, he got in the ring, and Swagger was like, I'm going to introduce somebody to you. This is a real American Zeb Coulter. And he gives Coulter the microphone and proceeds to cut a really, like I said, good and interesting promo. Now, I'm not going to read the whole promo here for you, but what I am going to do is I'm going to take the transcription of the promo and I'm going to put it up over our image so that you can actually read the promo itself.
That's a good idea.
Just a reminder to all the YouTube copyright police, I'm not putting this forward as it's my own words. It's not. It was Zeb Coulter from World Wrestling Entertainment, all this good stuff. This is not something that is mine. Don't nail me for copyright. Fair use, purposes of commentary. Now, or if that's not good enough for you, I'm using it under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0. Now, I got you nailed on both ends, kids. So, you can read the text, which I'm going to put up right now. And this was the text of Zeb Coulter's promo from last night.
Yeah.
And, he says some really interesting stuff in it, like stuff that back in the Attitude Era would kind of been like, it would have been an above average promo in the Attitude Era. Now with what we're used to in promos today, like this pushes the envelope.
Yeah.
Like it really does, because you have a generation of wrestling fans who are not only younger, but a lot more sensitive than they probably should be. But so, I mean, like he talks about him and Jack Swagger's father being in Vietnam. Well, Dutch Mantell did fight in Vietnam. So he is a Vietnam veteran. So, I mean, that's something there. That's true. And he's talking about, like, immigrants in the States, like people that don't have the same face as me, or I can't understand what they're saying, like with people's accents and things like that. So
right.
It was an up there promo. It really was. And again, it's one of those things where, like, if WWE really wants to take it and run with it, they could really turn it into something. And could turn it into something where he would get a lot of heat from fans, especially up north. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, if he was going through like New England and places like that, like the first places where like slavery was abolished and stuff, they always seem to take that stuff and it affects them that much more. I just thought it was a really good promo.
It was. I overly enjoyed it. At first, I didn't know what the hell was going on.
Well, like me, even like
I'm sure not a lot of fans did either.
Right, and that's why it didn't seem to get a ton of heat.
Yeah.
From the fans, and I really don't think the fans. I think it hit them and flabbergasted them so much. Like, what in the world is happening? But it's an interesting turn for Swagger's character that he stops being the all American, and turns into like, hey, I'm a real American. I'm and just kind of taking this like racial undertone and stuff.
Yeah.
It could be really good if WWE wants to take it and run with it. I feel like this is maybe a Paul Heyman brainchild. Kind of feels like it might be a Heyman. Kind of. Might be sort of a... Not that Heyman's behind it, like, on screen. Yeah. But just, like, in the back, I keep feeling like maybe this is a Heyman thing.
Yeah. It does kind of feel like a Heyman thing, doesn't it?
A little bit.
Now, at the beginning of Raw, did you actually think Heyman was going to put in his resignation?
Well, when he was in the ring, and this was really interesting. Like when he was in the ring, I was interested to see that they opened the show with him in the ring. I'll put it that way. I didn't think they were going to open the show that way, but they opened it up and Heyman's in the ring, and I'm just like, I'm thinking to myself, is he going to resign? Is he going to... Like, he had tweeted, or not tweeted, touted. Fuck tout. He had touted earlier in the day that, like, oh, I have this huge announcement that I want to make.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, is he bringing somebody back? Like, is he like adding to this stable that he has, or like something? Is he going to come out and say, like, I'm not associated with the Shield, and then the Shield comes out and beats him? Like, there was a lot of different ways that it could go.
Well, yeah.
So I didn't see the whole resignation thing coming from a mile away or anything, but I knew something interesting was going to happen. Did you like that? Did you like the way that they sort of executed that?
I did.
Yeah.
I had no idea why he was out there. I kind of wanted, and this might happen a little bit later on down the line, where Paul Heyman comes out and says, I have no association with Brad Maddox or the Shield.
Right.
And then Brad Maddox comes out.
Okay.
And confronts Paul Heyman. And, going back from the videotape where Brad Maddox was talking with Paul Heyman, then he gets stomped by the Shield.
Right.
He brings that up, and, that's how we know.
Okay.
This shit happened.
Right, fair enough.
Then Paul Heyman gets canned.
Right on. Yeah, that's...
But, it's...
Nick books it.
I tell you. We're both creative.
We need to be a team. They just need to fire everybody else on creative and just hire the two of us. Do you have any idea how awesome Raw would be if we had the run of the show? I think it would be great.
Just give us one Raw.
There you go. Give us one Raw with complete creative control. I'll bring on friggin' Masked Tweeter. I'll bring on Dave. I'll bring on Del X-Man just as creative consultants. Yeah. Give us the run of one episode of Raw. Oh, I tell you, we would bring it. We would bring it back.
Awesome.
It would be the Raw to watch. And I loved the hug. The hugging that they did after this is like, you're right. And then they hug each other and they have a total bro moment. And
a total bro moment.
It was great.
When they pan on CM Punk's eyes, he
kind of looked crazy.
He looked crazy.
He
looked half pissed
crazy.
off.
He was just like, he looked the way like psychotic Stone Cold Steve Austin looked when he was hugging Vince that one time. And they cut to the look on his face and his eyes are right wide,
just
beady.
Wide, and it's like patting
him on the back. It kind of reminded me of that. But I'm actually happy that you mentioned Brad Maddox, because I wanted to mention something not from this Raw but the previous one.
Yeah.
When Brad Maddox comes out and he's like, I'm going to confront the Shield first, Brad Maddox's voice sounded a lot like Bane.
Really?
When he was talking. He was like, Shield, justice is coming to you. I was just like, Tom Hardy? You sound like Bane without the mask, which is really weird. So it was something that I remarked from Raw 2 weeks ago. Yeah. It's just like, and like they replayed that in a segment this week, and I was just like, I forgot about the Brad Maddox Bane voice. That's awesome.
Why would Brad Maddox call out the Shield?
I don't know. It's kind of not a good idea. No. We'll put it that way. And he kind of got his ass stomped. Oh, that's creative. Fair enough. Like, well, then again, it kind of makes sense, because Maddox is one of these guys that's just like, anything I can do to get noticed or anything like that. So I guess it kind of made sense. Well, but it was also just a bad fucking idea.
Yeah.
What else from Raw last night? Set up a possible U.S. title match for the pay-per-view, Miz and Cesaro. Miz, of course, was having a match with Mustachio, with Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
Cody Rhodes and his upper lip duster. and Cesaro was at ringside on commentary, and they kind of got into it and everything like that. And
Cesaro came out, Miz kicked him in the head, and he went down on his ass.
Yeah, that's true. He just fucking
and then
kicked
Cesaro pushed him into the ring post.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely. So that could very well set up a U.S. title match. As of now, unannounced, but who knows? It could possibly set that up for the pay-per-view.
Quite possibly. I mean, they can take out the Divas match.
They can take out the Divas match. Although, when we do our Elimination Chamber pay-per-view preview here, just starting in a minute or two, we're only previewing what we know is on the card at this point. It could very well change. We do still have a SmackDown, so something else could get signed or stuff could get changed. We're doing a preview as of today, which is the 12th of February. So things could change. Disclaimer. And the way Raw ended last night, with Rock doing his story time, which again we kind of talked about it before we went on air, and it was like it was an okay promo. It wasn't bad. Like the actual story itself didn't really fit together all that well.
Didn't really fit together, and to tell you the truth, I wasn't really too impressed of it.
Okay.
And I've read a couple articles online that says, most people in the back, they weren't really impressed for The Rock's last promo before Elimination Chamber.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And
we think it's his last. He could very well come out on SmackDown.
Yeah.
If he's going to do that, they usually like to announce that ahead of time, so chances are he probably won't.
Well,
yeah. And I would be really interested to talk candidly with some of the guys in the back, and just be like, Rock is WWE champion. What do you think? What do you actually think? Not what do you tell Vince if he asks you.
Yeah.
What do you actually think about Rock being WWE? I would be really interested to hear some of the answers.
Want to know what I think?
Yes.
I want a WWE champion that fights every night. Not comes out and does Rock shows or tells stories or just prances around the ring. I want somebody who fights.
Nick is spitting fire at The Rock. Nick wants a fighting champion.
I do.
Yes, and I completely agree with you. What worked? Part of what worked so well with a guy like CM Punk as champion, and even, like him or hate him, John Cena, when these guys have the belt is prominent. The belt is featured on every show.
Yeah.
Because they're out and they have a match every show. And it might not always be for the title, but it's still a match.
Yeah, of course.
The matches that Rock let's look at it. The matches that Rock has had in the last over a year. He had the tag match with Cena against I can't even remember who it was against at that one pay-per-view. I think it was Survivor Series. Like the one
sounds it.
Yeah, I think it was like The Miz and somebody or something like that. So he had that tag match. He had the match against Cena at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
He had the match against CM Punk at Royal Rumble. And now he'll have the match at Elimination Chamber. Yeah. 4 matches in over a year.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I know The Rock will never be back.
Right.
As he was before he left.
Mm-hmm.
But if he has the belt and if he's going to be there until WrestleMania, which of course I hope he loses the belt because I want a fighting champion, of course.
Exactly, yeah.
Why make him wrestle?
Yeah. Make him wrestle
compete.
More than once a month.
Make the belt, put it out there,
right?
Make it something,
exactly,
instead of just stories and rock shows.
Exactly, and we're neither of us, we don't want the message really to get twisted because we've talked about this extensively. Neither one of us are against part-timers. It's not about being against a part-timer. Neither of us, I don't think, are against Brock Lesnar at least being back. Well, you know what I mean?
Part-timers. I mean, Chris Jericho.
Jericho's a part-timer.
He wrestles.
Taker. Even though Taker only wrestles once a year, even though he doesn't have the belt. That's the big difference. He's not the champion.
Yeah.
So, I mean, being a part-timer is perfectly fine, but you shouldn't hold the belt, especially taking it off of a guy like CM Punk.
Right.
But now I feel like we're running the risk of repeating ourselves. But still, that's just the way we feel. But the end of the show last night, Punk and Rock having their... I still love that whole dynamic. Punk Rock. I don't know. I just like it. They get together and they have their little brouhaha. And Punk eventually gets Rock up, GTS's him, and steals the belt. We haven't seen this in a while in WWE. Someone stealing someone else's belt. It's been probably a couple of years since we've seen it. And it felt really, really fresh because not only is it just a belt, it's the belt. Like, he stole the championship. And it ties into the whole Punk saying, well, I never lost the belt. I was screwed out of the belt, so I'm taking back what's mine and everything like that. And he just takes it.
Yeah.
I will be very happy to see Punk walk into Elimination Chamber, even though he's not the champion, holding the belt. I think that'll be great. And it's a good way to show, like, really piss the Rock off and everything like that, and like they can really, really play it up, right? So I hope that's what I hope they don't have some cop out like Rock shows up on SmackDown and he somehow mystically got the belt back, and it's like Mr. McMahon ordered Punk return the belt to me and blah blah blah. I was like, oh, God damn it, you fucking movie star. So I really hope that doesn't happen. But again, it was just really cool to see Punk literally just like, this is my shit, I'm taking it.
Yeah.
And he took it, and that was the end of the show. I just thought that was really well done.
Was interesting. I liked it.
Anything else you wanted to mention from Raw? I felt like there was some filler, matches that don't really matter, but
there was some filler. I mean, but all in all, it was a good Raw show.
Yeah, I thought it was a good show.
Going back from SmackDown, the only thing I really liked about that was the Del Rio and Big Show segment.
Yeah. The previous SmackDown last Thursday or Friday, I suppose. Sorry, it's Friday. With Del Rio dumping the orange paint on Big Show and putting his tour bus up on blocks, which is really funny because he's Mexican. and don't get it twisted. WWE knew exactly what they were doing with that.
Yeah,
they were just true. Like, you know what, this is going to be funny as hell, and we're just going to go there. And Del Rio was just like, all right, let's go there then. It was really, really good. It was funny, and then the whole the thing on Raw with Big Show where Alex Riley and Yoshitatsu were making fun of him. Yoshitatsu was like, "Hey, look like Big Carrot." It's like, oh, I love you, Yoshi. I wish you were on TV every week. You're great. So, with that said, let's go into the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view.
Elimination Chamber.
Now, before we get started with actually previewing any matches, there's one or two little things I wanted to very, very quickly bitch about.
Okay.
I'm going to pop up for you guys right now. You're going to be able to look at it right now. That is the poster for Elimination Chamber. Once again, to the YouTube content police, I'm not attempting to use this as my own thing. It's WWE's Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0, fair use for the purposes of commentary. Now, I put this up for two reasons. One reason, I want you to take a look at the sponsors if you can see them. The sponsors for this show are WWE Power Slammers, those god-awful new toys, and The Rock's new movie, G.I. Joe Retribution.
Oh, goody.
I'm
just going to run out and watch
buy
it now.
all of those things. My concern is a show that's sponsored by shitty products may end up being a shitty show. That's my fear. It's probably an irrational fear, but I'm still just like, oh man, they're going to screw up the show because it's sponsored by horrible things.
Quite possibly.
Like, it's just like, if you see like a wrestling show sponsored by a bad video game. Like, I remember there was one WWE show, this was a long time ago, it might have even been WWF, that was sponsored by a bad Tomb Raider game.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a horrible show. The show was just bad. So I'm just like, oh no, there's a fucking curse. And this is like the two worst things in the world that the show could be sponsored by. It's going to be a bad show. No. I hope it's not a bad show.
No,
I really do.
I hope it's not.
But those are some bad products to be sponsored by. They just seem to have a ton of money. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I kind of wanted to mention, if you just by looking here at the poster, take a look at the two heels that's on the poster, which is CM Punk and The Big Show.
Yeah.
They're both smiling like they're happy, almost like they're baby faces. And then you take a look at The Rock, who is the biggest baby face on the whole card, and he's got his mean face on.
He does.
And it's just like
interesting.
You're, do you know what your characters are? Or general rule of thumb is heels don't smile usually on a poster, and neither and the baby faces are supposed to be smiling. And now granted, you see like Sheamus there's got a big stupid grin on his face, and Cena's got his big stupid grin.
Sheamus always got a big stupid grin.
Exactly, because he's Irish and he's drunk all the time. But the point is, like, I don't know, it came off as kind of weird to me that the heels are smiling and the biggest baby face on the card's all pouty and shit. Which now I suppose I understand because CM Punk stole his title. So I guess maybe they knew they were going to do that, but still, I don't know. It seemed kind of weird to me. So this is the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. You'd think for a pay-per-view named Elimination Chamber, we might have more than one Elimination Chamber match on it. But we only have one. And that bugs me.
Why?
That's my biggest problem with the themed pay-per-views. Things like Elimination Chamber, Money in the Bank, things like that.
Yeah.
Is that more than one match on the card should fit the theme. If you're gonna make it a themed pay-per-view. It just, to me, it should fit the theme. More than one match should fit the theme. Now, I'm not saying every match. They shouldn't put the Divas title match in an Elimination Chamber because one of those bitches is going to die. But so they shouldn't do that. But having more than one match fit the theme, like, I mean, I look at like, this is one of the few things that TNA does well. TNA used to do a pay-per-view called Destination X.
Yeah.
Where they had this match called Ultimate X, which had that big red X above the ring that people would like climb up to and climb on and shit.
Right.
And 3 or 4 or even 5 matches on the card would be Ultimate X matches, which is fine because then it fits the theme of the pay-per-view. But here you have a themed pay-per-view that's got one match that fits the theme. I don't know. To me, it seems weird, but I suppose they think that it's smart writing to do it that way, and WWE creative.
Yeah, I don't know what they're thinking.
No, fair enough. So, all right, so let's cut into the matches here. I put these matches in order of how I think they're actually going to come out on the pay-per-view. I could be 100% wrong, but this is just the way that I think they're going to end up coming out.
Well, I got a little bit of skirmish between your 4 and 5 because it is The Rock.
It's true.
He has to go on last.
For the record, I have the Rock and CM Punk match as the number 4 match coming out, and the Elimination Chamber as the main event. Which, like we said, if Rock is apparently more important than the Royal Rumble, he's probably going to be more important than the Elimination Chamber.
Well, there
match.
You go.
But still, I put it the way that I thought it made logical sense to me, anyways, for these matches to come out. So we're going to start with, of course, the World Heavyweight Championship match, because apparently who gives a fuck about the World Heavyweight Championship? We could just put them on first.
It's true. So, Del Rio versus Big Show.
Yep, Del Rio defending the title against the Big Show.
Yeah.
In what kind of match, Nick? We've seen these guys have 2 straight last man standing matches. There must be some amazing, awesome, weird stipulation on this match to just take it to the next level.
Hey, I got an idea.
All right, fire. Hit me with it, man. Hit me with it. It's got to be good.
Let's put them in a last man standing match.
Oh my God, that'd be so amazing. No, wait, we've already.
That's new.
We've already done that twice, man. There's got to be. Oh no, I got the best idea ever. Let's just put them in a straight singles match. Fucking brilliant. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The World Heavyweight Championship that has been defended in 2 consecutive last man standing matches between these 2 guys is now going to be contested on pay-per-view as a straight singles match. No stipulation whatsoever. Straight singles match.
And I guess, I mean, it kind of makes sense if you look at it, because
Blasphemy.
I mean,
No, sorry, go ahead.
last man standing matches. I mean, there's no disqual. They can pretty much do what they want.
Right.
Straight matches. I mean, it's Del Rio versus the Big Show.
Right.
If Big Show loses, I mean, he can't cry.
Right.
About it. I mean, of course, he can always say that he wasn't prepared, but I mean,
that's true.
He knows he's wrestling.
I suppose that's true. I can't help but feel like it's just it's close to the same match we've already seen twice, but it's going to be of quote unquote lesser quality because it's just a straight singles match because it doesn't have some kind of stipulation on it. I'm a big fan of stipulations when they make sense. Yeah. I should say. Right. I should put it that way. But like it's not that I really hate the idea of a straight singles match. I just, in order for it to work and be better and actually move forward from what they've already done, they've got to do something special. Like there's got to be something special in this match that differentiates it and makes it better than the last two that we've already seen. Because if it doesn't, there's almost no point to have the match.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
Throw some other wrinkle in there to kind of make it interesting. So we're going to have to see the way the match actually plays out.
I mean, you don't know. Maybe on SmackDown something might change.
Oh, absolutely. Oh yeah, no question about it.
But right now it's just a plain match.
Right, yeah, fair enough. And of course, the main question that we always have to ask when we have any World Heavyweight Championship match, since Ziggles still has that damn blue briefcase, does he cash it in?
No.
He's
saving it for WrestleMania.
You think he's going to keep it till Mania?
I do think that he will.
Interesting. As soon as I saw him on Raw lose to Kane, I thought immediately, I was just like, okay, he's cashing in at Elimination Chamber. Just because I don't know why, but I just like when I see him lose to Kane clean, because it was a clean 1-2-3 loss in the middle of the ring.
It was a clean 1-2-3 loss.
I'm thinking like, I bet you he's going to do it. But I don't think I can predict it because I think it's better. I think your idea is better.
It's better if he does it on like the biggest grand scale. I mean, go out, cash it in, win the title.
Absolutely.
I mean, and just have it
right off into the sunset for your threesome with Big E Langston and AJ Lee. That's sorry, folks. Yeah, no, I do think your idea is better. So I'm not going to say like, yeah, I think Dolph's going to cash it in, because if I thought my idea was better, I would say that, but I don't. I think his idea is better. So we're going to go with an official prediction of no, Dolph does not cash in Money in the Bank. Maybe he tries. He might try to, or something like that, and
he might try
or
to,
or threaten that he's going to do it or something. Yeah. Just like sort of keep it in Del Rio's head that like, oh yeah, by the way, I got this. Or whoever wins the match. And now we'll get to the prediction part of it. Who do you think? How do you think the match goes?
I think Del Rio is going to win. Holds on again? Just with a distraction from Rodriguez.
Okay.
That's just my prediction of it. Or else it might come down to the line where Ziggles comes out and distracts him with the briefcase.
Okay.
And Big Show grabs him, does choke slam and
so
wins
like, hey,
it.
yeah, you're not doing this. This is my title match.
Yeah.
And yeah. That's actually really interesting. I think it's probably going to be Del Rio as well. I can't see them taking the belt off of the world champion this close to WrestleMania.
Right.
I think if the belt's going to change hands, it'll probably change hands at WrestleMania. So we are both on Alberto Del Rio to retain the WWE Championship. Let's move on.
Now, if you know anything about our predictions from the Royal Rumble, they're horrible.
I think we were cruising somewhere along the lines of like 20% or something like that. So this is really just makes sense to us. Yeah, exactly. Fair enough. So number 2 here, we have Kaitlin defending the WWE Divas Championship against Tamina Snuka. Why? Why not? There was no build whatsoever for this match. I didn't even know they were feuding.
Match equals bathroom break.
Honestly, this is definitely going to be the pay-per-view piss break. Not even that Kaitlin and Tamina Snuka are bad in the ring, because I don't think they are. I think they're actually, compared to a lot of the divas on the roster, I think they're fucking Dean Malenko.
Yeah.
But that's not the point. The point is this match has no heat whatsoever. There's no feud between these two really that we know of.
They just threw it together.
They just threw it together. They're like, let's give Tamina Snuka a title shot. Like, honestly, nobody really cares about the fucking Divas division right now. They're not doing anything to make us care about the Divas division right now. Who do you think wins?
Kaitlin.
And Kaitlin holds on.
Yeah.
I actually think if they're gonna have one belt change hands, that they can safely have the Divas belt change hands. And I'm not 100% sure that the fans are behind Kaitlin, so I kind of feel like maybe they're going to start playing patty cake with the belt a little bit. I'm actually going to go Tamina. I actually think Tamina wins it.
Okay. I guess it's a safe belt to pass back and forth,
because who cares, right? Like they don't. Again, they don't give us. And this is not me dissing the Divas division. This is WWE dissing the Divas division. They don't give us a reason to care about their female wrestlers. They really, really don't. So I mean, I think there's a belt there that's fairly safe to say that they can kind of play patty cake with, and nobody will really be like, well, that's disrespectful to the belt, because it's a fucking pink butterfly. So I mean, like, it's not exactly the prestigious women's championship that they used to have that actually looked like the other belts.
Yeah,
it's a fucking pink butterfly. So Nick thinks that Kaitlin retains. I actually think Tamina wins the belt to set up some kind of stupid bullshit battle royal or something at WrestleMania.
Why not?
Whoop-de-doo. Next up here, we have the Shield of Justice. The Shield of Justice, as Brad Maddox would call them.
The Nexus of Justice.
Yeah, the Nexus, the Nexus of NWO.
Versus Ryback, Sheamus, and Cena.
Otherwise known as Team Superhero.
Apparently.
All they need on that team is The Rock.
Which is horrible, because we said earlier in an earlier podcast that we hope the Shield doesn't turn into another Nexus Cena sideshow, which is exactly where it's going.
It's kind of where it's going, as it's the way they're leaning, and it kind of scares me, because are they really at the point where they're going to let Cena lose to these guys? I don't know. I don't know. We should say this is just a regular 6-man tag match. There's no weird stipulations or anything like that in this match. Just a straight 6-man. Which is interesting to me, because I kind of worry about the quality of the match itself maybe taking a little dip from the last time we saw them, which was in the 6-man tag tables, ladders, and chairs with Ryback and Team Hell No, because that was a really intense match.
Yes,
and that match was we gushed about it. It was phenomenal. So I'm kind of worried that maybe it might take a step down in quality, especially when you have guys like Cena and Sheamus who are good entertainers, not necessarily the best in-ring guys, not to Kane and Daniel Bryan's level.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, in-ring, they're phenomenal. So I kind of worry about maybe the match quality taking a little bit of a dip, but I'm interested to see this match, if for no other reason than, like you mentioned, I'm kind of scared what they might do. I hope they don't turn it into like a Cena sideshow where it's like, okay, you guys have done a couple of things and that's cute, but we can't have you beat Cena on pay-per-view.
Right.
So like that worries me significantly. I don't want it to happen. I'll put it that way. I don't want it to happen.
No. I mean,
and I guess we kind of answered our own question here. Does a loss by the Shield, so let's, sake of argument, say the Shield loses this match.
Right.
goddamn. But for sake of argument, we say the Shield loses the match. Does a loss by the Shield kill their momentum, or the popular wrestling term there is bury them? Do you think if they lose the match, do you think it buries them? Do you think it kind of kills the momentum?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
I just don't think so.
No? Okay.
They can always come back and do shit.
Yeah, fair enough. I kind of think it might be too early, maybe, for them to lose on pay-per-view. I mean, technically, as far as the majority of the WWE universe is concerned, they've only had one sanctioned match.
Yeah.
Now, we know, if you actually pay attention to house shows and stuff like that, like we do, we know they've wrestled at house shows. But as far as like actually seeing them on TV, they've had one sanctioned match. And I think if you have them lose their second sanctioned match, technically, I think maybe it might be a little too soon. But then at the same time, it's like, is WWE really going to let them not only beat Cena on pay-per-view, but beat Cena and Sheamus on pay-per-view? And not just that, beat Cena, Sheamus, and Ryback for a second time on pay-per-view. Like,
yeah,
they're such cash. It's like the Shield versus WWE's whole cash cow on one team, basically.
It's basically what it is, and I mean, I can't see it happening.
No, it's so tough, and I really want to predict that the Shield wins this match. I really want to. I don't think I can. I really don't think I can, and that hurts me because like the Raw after Elimination Chamber, they probably come out dressed like the fucking Spirit Squad or something. And it's like Mickey, Mikey, Dean. Like, oh God. And there goes one of the best things WWE has on TV.
Yeah.
So I think it's too soon for them to lose, but at the same time, I kind of feel like they're gonna, because WWE likes to superhero their cash cows. So I think I'm going to have to go with the prediction of Ryback, Sheamus, and Cena winning the match, probably clean 1, 2, 3, and Shield scurrying away, and I die a little inside as a wrestling fan.
I can back that.
You can back that?
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. We're both going with it. We're both on this. So far, the only one we disagreed on is fucking Kaitlin and Tamina Snuka, which big fucking deal.
Yeah.
Whoop-de-doo.
Whoop-de-doo.
Exactly. We're at over 45 minutes now, so we don't want to rush through these last two, but we're going to get into them. My number 4, as I mentioned there before, I had The Rock taking on CM Punk, defending the WWE Championship, which CM Punk stole on Monday night. Now, there is a stipulation here in that The Rock no longer has his championship advantage.
Right.
And what we mean by that is if The Rock gets disqualified or counted out, typically the belt can't change hands. But in this match, if he does get disqualified or counted out, it will change hands, and CM Punk will have the belt back.
Right.
This was something that Paul Heyman cajoled out of Vince McMahon on Monday Night Raw. Is the stipulation here really a big deal? Do you think? Do you think the stipulation is actually going to come into play in the match?
It might. I mean, Paul Heyman is going to be in CM Punk's corner.
Right.
So, I mean, he could possibly do something and make it look like it was The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And, try and get the referee to stop the match and disqualify The Rock, which would give CM Punk the title.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of interesting.
And Heyman has displayed that he's got a bunch of lackeys, really. He's got Brad Maddox, and he seems to have the Shield if he wants to pay the Shield to do a job. Yeah. And he seems to have Brock Lesnar as well. So I would think that maybe something like that would happen where, Heyman would arrange it for Brock Lesnar to come out late in the match and F5 CM Punk.
Right.
And then, of course, Rock gets disqualified for that and Punk gets the belt back. And I could see that happening. Or something else that kind of popped into my head, too. Do you remember the old Eddie Guerrero spot the spot that he always used to do. Like he'd get the belt or a chair or something like that, and he would make a noise like he hit somebody with it when the referee had taken a bump.
Yeah.
So the ref was out, and he would act like something got hit, and then he'd throw the weapon to the other person and then pretend like he was the one that got hit.
Yeah.
And then it would prompt a disqualification, which he actually pulled off to perfection in the last match he ever wrestled, which was against Ken Kennedy on SmackDown. It was a couple nights before he died, and he pulled that off to perfection, and it was awesome. It was the first time in a while we'd seen him do it. But I could even see something like that, where like the ref has taken a bump, Heyman gives Punk a chair, he hits the canvas with it, throws the chair to the Rock, and then falls over like he's out. And the ref comes to, and Rock's got the chair, and disqualification. Or as our friend Nathan Herndon would say, disqualification. Disqualification. That's an old backyard wrestling joke. Sorry, but yeah, I could see something like that happening, maybe. But so the stipulation seems kind of benign because it's like, well, why would Rock bother? Rock's not the kind of guy that gets himself disqualified.
Yeah,
right. Like, so what does it matter? But it could very well end up coming into play and would actually give the stipulation purpose, which would kind of be cool. The other thing I sort of had down there to think about, like, again, could we see Brock Lesnar show up? Well, we could. He could end up being a part of it. Who knows?
Right.
But how do you see the match going between Rock and CM Punk?
God, I hope CM Punk wins it.
Yeah?
Yeah. I for some reason, I see the stipulation coming into play.
Okay.
Which is going to let CM Punk get the belt back.
Right.
It'd either be, like you said, maybe Brock Lesnar comes out in F5 CM Punk, which in return gets The Rock disqualified.
Right. And in exchange, like CM Punk promises Brock Lesnar a title shot or something down the line. And yeah, fair enough.
You know, something like that. I mean, I think it would be interesting, and at least it gets the belt off The Rock.
Right, fair enough. I think, honestly, I do think The Rock retains. I think the way that it's been set up is like, oh, we're going to put everything against The Rock, but he's going to come through despite all odds and everything like that.
I
it's just
know
like,
they want to go for The Rock versus Cena at WrestleMania, but he does not need the belt.
No, he really doesn't. He really doesn't. And I know we bitched about this on a previous episode, but it's just like, he doesn't need the belt. Neither one of those guys needs the belt. Like, Rock was already a 7-time champion. He's now an 8-time champion. And Cena, I believe, is a 10-time champion. Neither one of them needs the goddamn belt anymore. Remember when Bret Hart was a 5-time WWF champion and everybody was like, oh my God, that was so amazing?
Yeah.
Where does that leave Bret Hart now? One of the greatest wrestlers of all time. He was a 5-time WWF/E whatever champion, and now it's like, well, yeah, but this random whoever's got 4, so it's just like, bugs me. So, you know, honestly, I know we're both pulling for CM Punk. I think if I'm going for an actual prediction, I've got to go for The Rock, because I mean, I just know what they're, well, not we both know what they're building towards.
Well, I guess, yeah.
Because it's like, as soon as Cena came out after he won the Rumble and was like, had cut a like a minute and a half promo that he extended into like 10 minutes. And he was like, I challenge the WWE champion. I went on Twitter and I was like, and with that, the most anticlimactic moment in wrestling history takes place. Like, who didn't see that coming? Why would Cena have gone out and been like, I'm going to challenge the world heavyweight champion? Why? What's the point?
Yeah.
What would be the point? The only reason to do that is he wins the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania and then Dolph Ziggler cashes in on him. It would be the only reason for him to have done that. So it's like, as soon as Rock won the belt and Cena won the Rumble, we were like, well, fuck, we know where this is going. Now, again, nothing stops them if they decide to want to do like a triple threat match or something. That would be great. Paul Heyman somehow weasels CM Punk into that match. Then you have
Interesting.
Punk, versus Rock versus Cena. Triple threat for the WWE Championship. That's a WrestleMania main event.
Yeah.
You don't just repeat the same main event from the previous year. I swear to God, WrestleMania 30, if they try to do Rock versus Cena 3, I will stop watching wrestling. Like, if they do Rock versus Cena 2 at this WrestleMania, and then they come out the next night, and it's just like, it's one apiece. Let's do that one more time. I'd be like, no, fucking no. I will never watch your television again. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, last match on the card, and we will be out of here after that. The Elimination Chamber match, the one match on the card that actually fits the theme. Elimination Chamber winner, of course, gets the World Heavyweight Championship title match at WrestleMania.
Oh, yes.
Versus whoever wins between Alberto Del Rio and the Big Show, we can presume, and we're both on Del Rio for that match. We have Jack Swagger versus Chris Jericho versus Daniel Bryan versus Kane versus Mark Henry, somebody gonna get their ass kicked, versus Randy Orton.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. Is it maybe proof of a weak SmackDown roster that, like, if you look at the guys that's in the match, Chris Jericho is basically a Raw exclusive.
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan and Kane are basically Raw exclusives.
Yeah.
Neither one of them has been on SmackDown, and none of them have been on SmackDown in 6 months. But it's the World Heavyweight Championship, which is basically SmackDown's title.
Right.
But there's 3 guys in it who are essentially Raw exclusives. Does it seem weird to you? Like, I looked at it and I just thought it was kind of interesting.
It's a little bit weird, but I mean the World Heavyweight Championship. I mean it's been on either show. I mean,
yeah,
it's
true.
Not like it's just been exclusively on SmackDown. I mean, Big Show has been on Raw, so I mean. It makes sense and it doesn't. That I mean, Raw, SmackDown superstars are mixed in the.
Yeah, but it's like it's a weird mix because it's always like it's the Raw Super Show, which means SmackDown and Raw superstars are on it. But you very rarely ever have SmackDown Super Show, right? Because nobody cares about SmackDown, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I guess in that way, I guess it does make sense, but I don't know. I looked at it and I was like, it kind of indicates to me that you have a relatively weak roster on SmackDown, that you couldn't come up with 3 other people on SmackDown who have been former world champions to be in that match. But in any case, like you say, the roster does flop around a little bit, which by the way, I remember reading an article that talked about WWE's thinking about changing that.
Oh, really?
Is thinking about either doing one of 2 things, either making them exclusive shows again, or getting rid of the separate championships and going back to the Undisputed Championship, which I think makes sense.
It does make sense.
We've kind of been advocating that for a little while. I think it makes sense, but in any case. What do you think as far as predictions for this match? Who do you think's the first one of those 6 guys to get eliminated?
The first one?
Who's the most expendable on that list of 6?
Mark Henry.
Really? You racist. No. I see. Not get the only black guy out first. No.
No.
Sorry.
But I mean, he's just come back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what better way to get him pissed off?
Well,
more than he is.
I was going to say, he already looks kind of pissed off, sir.
I mean, he's pissed off. He's come out. He's basically
curb stomped everyone.
Curb stomped everybody. Even Hornswoggle, which
poor Hornswoggle.
I know. He just gets gets shit on.
His gigantic head atop his miniature body, and it just gets fucking squashed. Yeah, okay. See, that is not who I thought you were going to pick.
No?
No.
Who did you think I was going to pick?
I thought you were going to go Orton. I don't know why.
Orton?
I thought immediately you were going to go Orton.
Why?
Because I think it facilitates his heel turn. It gets him pissed off, and it's because I feel like this Randy Orton heel turn is coming. Like Randy Orton, basically a program between Randy Orton and Sheamus. So I definitely thought you were going Randy Orton on that. Mark Henry surprises me.
Really?
But it's good. It's good that we can still surprise each other like that. That's good stuff. And honestly, I actually think it's going to end up being Randy Orton. I think Orton will be the first one that ends up being eliminated from the match. It might take 2 or 3 guys to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think the match is actually going to fill up. I think you're going to get at least 4 guys in the ring before somebody gets eliminated.
Right.
Because like these are 6 really good. There's no filler really in this match. There's not a Kofi Kingston. Not to say that Kofi's not really filler, but in the context of an Elimination Chamber match, he kind of is.
Yeah.
There's no Santino Marella. There's no Rob Van Dam. There's no filler in the match, right? It's 6 really good guys. So I think it will end up getting to like that number 4 entry or something before someone's eliminated. I honestly think it's going to be Randy Orton. I don't know why. I just got a feeling, but I don't know. I just got a feeling.
I guess.
Who do you think the final 2
in the
match will be?
Who I want to see that's the final 2, but
Fire
it will
away.
never happen.
Daniel Bryan and Kane.
Yes.
Yeah, I knew that's where you were going.
Yeah, I would
Yes!
love to see them
Yes!
as the last 2.
Yeah,
but
that would be really interesting.
With the tag team champions, they'll
tag
never
titles, the tag titles fighting for the right to go to WrestleMania. That would be a great story, actually.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
It would be a great story, but you're absolutely right. They'll never do that.
No, I could see like Jack Swagger and maybe Daniel Bryan or Chris Jericho and Daniel Bryan.
I think the last 2 is going to come down to Chris Jericho and you know what? I got to go Mark Henry.
Really?
I got to go Mark Henry.
The first one that I thought was
first
going
one
to get
that you
thrown
thought
out first.
That's why I was so surprised. I was like, wow, this is going to get awkward down the road. No, I honestly think it's going to come down to Chris Jericho and Mark Henry. And between the 2 of them, I think Mark Henry wins.
Really?
I do. And the reason that I think that happens is, here we go. Justin books it. I think it's a good program heading towards WrestleMania of Alberto Del Rio versus Mark Henry. Because you can look at it and it's another just huge mountain of a man that Del Rio's got to deal with. A guy that's not easy to put his armbar on because Mark Henry's arms are massive.
Yeah.
And it's another one of those things where, like, if they really want to squash Del Rio over as this underdog babyface champion, you give him these monsters.
I know, but that's so hard to do with Mark Henry, somebody who's like personified himself so much as being, the world's strongest man,
right?
And can squash anybody,
right?
And do something that Del Rio has been doing with Big Show, which is just, manhandling him sometimes.
He really has been.
Yeah. It's just like, just try and imagine, like, Del Rio doing what he's been doing with Big Show to Mark Henry, and it just does not work in my mind.
No, that's fair, and that's probably a pretty legit criticism to it, but I think, you know what? I think that makes it even better. I think you take every single week Del Rio trying the same things he was trying with Big Show to get over on Mark Henry, and it doesn't work. And every week, every single show leading up to WrestleMania, however many, the 6 SmackDowns or whatever, leading up to WrestleMania, every single one of them, at the end of the night, Del Rio is laid out. There's just nothing works. Just Henry has been beating him and beating him and beating him, whether it's in matches, not in matches. And Del Rio's heading into WrestleMania like, how the hell do I beat this guy? And they have this pretty well as good a match as Mark Henry is capable of having on pay-per-view, and at the pay-per-view, maybe Del Rio finally beats him. I don't know. I have that idea in my head, and for whatever reason, I can just see Mark Henry winning the friggin' thing. But what about you? Who do you think's going to win the match?
Me, myself,
and I.
and I. And her.
And her. Ooh. Simultaneous.
You finally got it.
I did.
Yes, it did. Took you a little while.
A little slow, sir.
Wow.
It's tough because there's 6 guys that could win the match.
It is.
Right? Like,
and there's a few that I would like to win,
mm-hmm.
like either Chris Jericho or Daniel Bryan.
Right.
Or
Daniel Bryan's my sentimental pick. He's my runner-up.
Yeah?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Or maybe even, like, I don't know. Like, this is so hard to call.
We should put 6 names in a hat and just draw one out.
Yeah.
Your prediction is
winner?
Nobody. Winner is guaranteed. Awesome. The winner is guaranteed in this match. Winner is guaranteed.
Okay. Daniel Bryan.
Nick's official prediction is Daniel Bryan. He randomly picked it with his finger.
I did. I closed my eyes and pointed at something at the page, which I'm lucky I got down at the Elimination Chamber.
It's true. I thought he was going to point at The Rock, which don't put it past WWE to somehow slip Rock into that match. Because you can't have Rock lose on pay-per-view. So there you go. I'm predicting Mark Henry, and Nick has got Daniel Bryan, and it's going to make for an interesting match for sure. We are on the road to WrestleMania. It's only something like I say, something like 6 weeks away or something like that. It's definitely getting there. WrestleMania is going to be a great event. I'm thinking about maybe setting up a viewing party for it here, which I think would be a good idea. And then
we best be watching it.
Oh, we're gonna watch it one way or the other. So that is going to be episode 3 of the Last Fan Standing podcast. We want to thank everybody very much for taking the time to listen to us, and it's time to hit you with all of the shilling and self promotion that we can. YouTube.com/user/noholdsbarredpodcast. We are a YouTube exclusive podcast on Last Fan Standing. We have twitch.tv/channel/noholdsbarred-podcast and noholdsbarred-hangout for our 2 podcasts. Twitter.com/NHB_podcast. We are NHB.podcast on Skype. You can find us on iTunes by searching the regular podcast anyways. You can find us on iTunes by searching the No Holds Barred Podcast or noholdsbarredpodcast@gmail.com. I believe I've got everything.
You did. I'm just going to pull something up right quickly because what is this? Just having a little bit of technical difficulties here.
So while Nick's having his technical difficulties, let's bitch a little more about Power Slammers. Look, here's the thing. If you have a kid who's a WWE fan, don't buy them Power Slammers. Just, you know what? Just don't do it. Buy them the action figures that they can actually play with. Not something that they just watch what goes on. Oh, I think Nick might have up what he was looking for.
Okay.
Don't buy Power Slammers.
Don't buy Power Slammers. But just to let everybody know that we're coming out with a website.
Mm-hmm.
You can find us online at noholdsbarred.net63.net.
Exactly. So noholdsbarred.net63.net. Beautiful. We'll go back on all our videos and we'll put the URL to that website in the description to them, so you can find that on any of our videos.
For sure.
Make sure that you don't miss last week's No Holds Barred podcast. We thought it was one of our better ones, but it's not exactly getting the views that we would hope, so go back and watch that shit. And we will, of course, be coming out with a new episode of the No Holds Barred podcast in 1 week's time.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I think that's it.
That's it.
I think we're at the end. We want to thank everybody for spending the last hour and 10 minutes basically with us. Just a reminder, of course.
10 minutes.
Well, yeah, exactly. The first 10 minutes, I guess. Of course, once again, if you want to be a guest on either one of our podcasts, you can join us on Skype, nhb.podcast. Add us up, and we will have you on the show. And, of course, it's our podcastly tradition. We are going to go out with the Iron Sheik.
Of course.
Fuck you, piece of shit!
That's pretty much what our fans have been telling us with our view counts lately. Fuck you, piece of shit. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great week. We will see you next Monday with the next episode of the No Holds Barred podcast. Enjoy the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. Eventually, I promise, we're going to start talking about wrestling that's not just WWE, but in the meantime, it's the road to WrestleMania. It's important stuff, so we're going over it.
Of course.
So we will see you next time.
Later.